coming back to the same thing you
Yeah.
said, it is actually tying back that content strategy first. If you don't have a content strategy, yeah, okay, you get 100,000 fans, and then what you do with
What
that?
do you
if
exactly
you don't have
with
a
that?
content strategy, if you don't have a proper editorial schedule,
True.
which is friendly to the social environment. If you are sending the same gobbledygooks as your website,
Absolutely.
like
Yeah.
the next generation paradigm shifting
Right.
energy drink
Hmm.
empowered by empowered employees and stuff like
Yeah.
that in the social, and I'm seeing that from my grandma's well wishes, and
Hmm.
after that my friend is getting married. In between that, there's
Yeah.
gobbledygook statement. What's the value of it? So the content strategy. So this mobile also the same thing. Like the
Yeah.
content matters. The format
Absolutely.
matters. So what is the content strategy's importance, and why? What you will say to a marketer who doesn't understand the content? And starting with the Vikas.
Okay.
You're
My
trying
simple.
hard to not to use bad words.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So, meaning, fundamentally, I would say, if you've not understood your consumer and what is he looking for, whether he goes onto a Facebook or when he's using mobile, I think you've got it all. You're going to get it messed up. You're going to just go and get it garbage in, garbage out principle. Whatever your objectives are, you're not going to meet them. The reality is, consumers do not want to log on to a medium or use a medium to see ads. They, in fact, on some of these mediums or media options, whatever you want to call them, ads are intrusive. Meaning, when Sanchit actually said that it's not designed for, Facebook from ads perspective, it's absolutely true. Meaning, if you look at my experience, I've been on Facebook for the last 5, 6, I don't know, so many years. I have never ever clicked on an ad. In fact, I've never logged on through Facebook through desktop or a laptop. I've been accessing it on my mobile. There is no advertising out there. That's a reality, and half of the consumers in emerging markets are actually doing that. So that goes on to show consumers are so focused. If I was to look at my example, I would say people are just focused on content. That goes on to even mobile as a medium or any other channel.
Mm-hmm.
Meaning, when I look at mobile as a platform, what are consumers doing today? They are downloading apps, they are downloading games, they are doing productivity stuff, all that. That's what consumers look for. They are not getting onto the medium saying, I want to look at a Coke ad, or I want to look at Y ad. That's not their agenda. So marketers have to find a way in, and that way in, there's definitely nothing but content. That's where the starting point is. Meaning, that's what we tell all our brands and marketers to go out there. Don't just try and just run a simple plain vanilla banner campaign. Yeah, you'll accumulate clicks or you'll accumulate likes in case of social media, but what does it do? Start tying it back in terms of what levels of engagement are you going to get, what your results are likely to be, or what objectives you are trying to achieve. That's the most important piece. And historically, if you were to look at it, I think brands who have always worked on content piece, I'm going back again to the old days. Think about brands which are memorable. Meaning they have had good content strategies right from the beginning. Think of brands like Coke. Coke has done Coke Studio all over the thing. What's that? It's a content based strategy. Similarly, a whole lot of examples that you would find, it's all based on content. Those brands are going to be much more loved by consumers than anything else.
Definitely.
I agree. I think just like Vikas is saying, most of the iconic brands, even if you look at what Old Spice did on YouTube, it was not a media driven idea. It was a creative driven idea.
Mm-hmm.
It's an idea which people would have loved to share, and they do love to share.
Yeah.
I think just to add to what Vikas is saying, content which adapts to different devices is a big key factor.
Right.
You cannot have the same thing going on TV, going on print, and the same message going on a mobile device, same message going on a
You could have a
tablet.
single thought, but you have to have
the theme needs to be the same.
Yeah.
But it needs to adapt to the vehicle on which it is going. Secondly, the content needs to adapt to the consumer you're speaking to. Since consumers are expressing their intent and you have some information, you can't have one message talking to Anol versus Vikas versus Sanchit. Each of us are in 3 different segments, and we are at different life stages when we are looking for products or services. The brand needs to adapt their message based on the information you carry about the consumer. So vehicle-based adaptive messaging and also consumer-based adaptive messaging is the key. The idea can be the central theme, but you need to adapt it to different platforms.
Right. And from my experience, especially for B2B, it's all about content.
Right.
Absolutely.
Like at least some impulse buying was there, glitzy, glamorous, something in B2C area. B2B, nobody decides that, okay, tomorrow I'm going to buy a new data center.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So, or buy a different equipment for my plant.
True.
So that's all driven by content, and it is, but unfortunately that Asia especially is very poor in content, both in B2B and B2C. And if you look at that, the most of the time, the content, even in B2C, is a poor mimic of the Western world.
Yeah.
I mean, very few places got their own identity of this, and especially in Singapore, it's very
Right.
poor identity
Yeah.
of own content. Okay, India is different, it's a mature market
Right.
in terms of content marketing. So,
Yeah.
so where do you think it is changing? It's people are moving towards content, how the marketers are reacting, how the agencies are working with them, and what is your experience?
Yep. So as a media agency, I can tell you our perspective on it. We inform creative agencies to create the content. We do not create the content. So based on the signals we are picking up from the digital world, we try and power their creative solutions. We try and power their ideas, because that's what the consumer is looking at. So that understanding can come from us. As far as development of the content goes, by and large, we do not get into that space, because that's.
But
that's
you do
what
form strategic partnership with publishers, portals,
right.
so you
That's
do
right.
all that too.
Yeah, that's right. But by and large, the execution of content or the development of content
You don't have a
resides with the creative agency. So we can power them with information and insights. But the eventual idea or the production of that idea has to come from the creative agencies. We've had a certain degree of success actually working more with the boutique agencies rather than with the standalone old school large outfits, and more and more likes of Mindshare and other media agencies you'll see working very closely with standalone creative shops, because then you get that flexibility of more adaptable content I spoke about earlier. So that's what we are trying to do, work with smaller agencies which are far more flexible and nimble in their thought process, and who understands our way of media rather than the old school way of looking at creative.
Definitely. Now let's come back to the one topic we already raised, the big data problem,
Yeah.
right? So now we had before, even 15 years back, we had two channels, print, TV, and radio,
Yeah.
whatever. Now we have so many channels, and all are having different touch point to the single consumers. Let's
That's
say
right.
one single consumer is having so many
Touch points,
Search,
yeah.
social, digital, web banners, billboard, TV, etc. Now it comes to the question that which one converts, right?
Right.
What is the attribution model we are looking at? Right? It's a, just if I only take digital space, it's becoming more and more complex.
Yeah.
So
Right.
what is going forward is you can look at. I know Adobe is looking at that, I know Google Analytics is looking at that, but there is a fundamental question.
Absolutely.
First click model, last click model, and blah blah blah, but how do we get to that point?
Right. So we'll. Should I take that?
Yeah, you want to take it? Go
Okay.
ahead.
So again, it's a topic of massive interest to me, because I work on attribution models which straddle digital and real world media vehicles, and clearly there is evidence that search takes away most of the credit for a conversion. And what we are trying to do is quell that myth, because the last click attribution model is extremely self-defeating. You tend to see that more and more search queries are driven by television. 40% of search is driven by television, 30% is driven by print. So search, for example, which is usually given all the credit for a conversion, is the last sort of click or the last step taken by the consumer to convert towards a brand or a service. So what we're trying to do is aggregate data from TV, which is the GRP data. We're looking at certain measurement criteria on print through which we can track consumers coming in from a print ad, and also looking at display and other forms of digital, including social, to give equal weightage through a scientific model, which is more econometric driven, to give equal weightage to each media form. Now, you must understand that if you stop doing any other form of media, your search will never trigger a conversion. So that is a model we are working on. We're working with a lot of e-commerce clients, where we've seen huge degree of success, and we've done pilots where we switched on and switched off certain mediums to look at cause and effect. And it's fairly evident that the last click model is self-defeating. It's also showing the surround sound effect of marketing, that each medium has a role to play. It's not that TV is going to die or print is going to die in the near future. Each medium will play a certain role, but data liquidity will make you invest the right amount in the right space over time.
Right.
That's what we believe. Vikas
you want to add?
Okay, so again, from my point of view, I think the problem is nothing new. I think this problem even existed before digital happened. There were attribution kind of problems that marketers used to always ask. So is TV working? Is cinema working? Radio is working? Outdoor? How do I quantify that? So at least TV had GRPs, print had some sort of measurement, GRP, stroke, reach numbers and readership numbers. Outdoor, how do you qualify? How do you quantify? And back then also there were solutions around econometric modeling that were being used by more sophisticated clients. You had either Unilevers and P&Gs and some of the more bigger guys with had budgets for research and think they were using those models. The reality is nothing new. All you need to think about is think logical. Put consumer at the center and think how consumer would actually go about making a purchase. Today, how do you make a purchase for a travel product versus a e-commerce product, whether you're going out and buying stuff online? Do you just make it based on one single search, or does a consumer has a decision making process around it? Does that decision making process involve a newspaper or a TV, or does it also involve going out? Is he talking to his friends? Is he talking to? If that's all part of the decision making process, then everything has a role. Now it all boils down to whether you need to have a process in place to be able to take what each medium is doing, and there are ways to do it. The only thing is marketers are just not putting the science behind it. They're not willing to either invest or they don't have the willingness, whichever way you want to just
invest or accept.
Yeah, exactly. If they want to do it, I think they can do it. This last click model and all that, I think it's proven beyond doubt that it's absolutely, he's calling it self-defeating, but to me it's stupid. Meaning the fact of the matter is, if you think about this one, I may have gone and done a search or through a referral 3 days back, 4 days back. Next day when I'm coming in and I'm going to check out, and suppose I want to buy a hotel out of one site. How I go to that site is just go on to Google and just say things, because nobody wants to remember the names of the website as well. The fact of the matter is just Google is a gateway for anything and everything. This last click model just is absolutely futile. You talk to any consumer, he will tell you that.
True.
So it's
Yeah.
So there's not actually, what we are trying to say is a debate is a no-brainer. Reality. It's only that if marketers is not willing to listen and they just want to go by their own thing, then it's okay. It's their money.
Right. So let's end with something more definitive. That is, to the new marketers coming in, either doing marketing MBA or degree or something like that, or studying mass comm and stuff like that. You are established marketers. You went through a lot of things, seen a lot of things, and you can predict some of the things. Not everything, but some of the things. So what are the things you will say to the people who are coming to this field and are totally fresh, even just graduating this year, something like that? Let's start with Vikas. What you will say that to that person? Like,
I would just say, I wish I were you. Meaning, you've got the world of opportunities in front. The reality is today, a guy who's coming out of his college, he's a lot more tech savvy. It's in his blood. He's been using that for, things. So when he does an MBA, it's not in, just a one level MBA. He's born, brought up, he's done all that stuff much earlier. So I think the level of opportunities that exist in front of the youth today, it's immense. Meaning, day before yesterday, I think we just put out a case study of a young college guy who's just based out of Tamil Nadu. I think if you go and Google it, you'll just find that guy was offered a job by a huge multinational at a very, very great salary. He chose not to accept that. And he started developing apps and he started using platform. I'm not promoting our thing, but generally saying. Today, he's 3 months out of his college. He's earning 15 times what that company was about to pay. And he's like, does work at his own will. Gets up in the morning when he wants to get up. And that's the level of stuff that I think, if one thing I want to tell them is, do what you want to do actually. Meaning it's, if there was ever a time to do something, the time is now. That's what my thing would be.
Well, I tend to agree. I think our learning curve took us 10 to 15 years to realize where we are at and what we are supposed to do. That learning curve of 10 to 15 years has disappeared for these new recruits which are coming out, and they certainly have a distinct advantage over people like Vikas and me who had to learn different sides of the world to reach where we are today. So because of that distinct advantage, I would definitely urge them to be entrepreneurs rather than marketeers in a large company. Certainly because they have that option of looking at two sides of the world. Definitely, because I say entrepreneurship because specifically in Southeast Asia there is a dearth of the entrepreneurial spirit, as we say, and Singapore can be a great test bed for some of them to trial out their ideas and thoughts, which came to us much later in life.
Hey, the economies across Asia is growing, meaning you can see the numbers for yourself. Most of the consumers are opening up to products and services for the first time out there. There's a whole window of opportunity that exists, whether you want to create your own products or services or solutions. There was a point in time when technology was not as accessible. Meaning, who would have thought today everybody says cloud and all that. Think about it, to open up a business, 10 years back, and you got to think about the infrastructure cost, the amount of money that you have to pay to hire servers and do all that and XYZ. It used to be a complex task. Today you've got all these services available. You just go and sign up an account on Google. I'm just giving you you got all these services for free. I mean, to do something on your own, it's a lot more easier. All you need to have is little ingenuity, your own ideas, your what you want to do. If you've got a thought process, the world is out there for you to capture.
Great. So thank you for your time. We should do this more often.
Thank you.
It's like we should. I was thinking when I was talking to you guys. I was thinking that we should do that like a quarterly thing or something like that.
Absolutely.
And then that should be over beer actually.
Absolutely.
Even better. Stimulating.
Stimulating on that thing. Let's continue that conversation.
Absolutely.
Okay? And thanks for coming with us.
Thank you very much, Anol.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us here.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, it was really fun.